evening, SLT family. This is Catherine, your host. Yes, we are back for another phenomenal episode. We have a gentleman that's joining us this evening. We're going to learn about who he is, a little bit about his business, some entrepreneur tips and tools, and what keeps him motivated. And we're just going to have a great time tonight, guys. SLT, the talk, we are back tonight. Again, like I said, it's going to be phenomenal. Now, as many of you know, we have a phenomenal event that's coming up in July 16th, 17th, and 18th. After this interview, I'm going to share more information. But without further ado, welcome, Mr. Knox.
Hey, what's up? Thanks so much for having me, Catherine.
Yes, thank you so much for being a part of our episode on tonight. Listen, I tell you, entrepreneurship is the way to go, and there's so many entrepreneurs that listen to our episode live or they listen to the replay. So tonight, we just want to have a very interactive conversation, learn a little bit about you, your business, and maybe, share some tips and tools that can keep us all motivated and grow in our business.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. So let's start first. Share with our listening audience a little bit about you and what kind of sparked that entrepreneurship light in you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia, which it might be obvious, might not be. And I started getting into business with my grandfather. So my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my dad were all either business owners or entrepreneurs. And so I grew up as that just was the normal thing. And so whenever I was 12 or 13 years old, I remember my grandfather taking me aside and him teaching me about what we were doing as far as marketing goes. I think we were like placing an ad in the Atlanta Symphony or something like that. And that really just kind of sparked an interest in marketing for me. And then fast forward to about 4 years ago, I was working at a nonprofit in Charlotte. And part of my role was marketing. And unfortunately, my dad had passed away a little before that season, and my grandfather was also about to retire. And I thought, you know what, I've got this marketing skill set. I can't help them because they're no longer, my dad's no longer with us, and my grandfather's about to retire. But I can help other small business owners and entrepreneurs. So that's the thing that really catapulted me back into the entrepreneur space, which I've always loved. Always had my lawn care companies and selling golf balls growing up, but yeah. I guess I got official with it a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Wow. So your family, your dad planted that entrepreneurship seed in you, and you took the torch and you just ran with it. For those that are tuned in, that are listening, you are tuned into SLT The Talk. We're talking to Evan tonight. We're just peeling back the layers of entrepreneurship, learning about his journey. And as you hear about his journey on tonight, think about your entrepreneurship journey and how you can take your business to the next level. So listen, tell everyone that's tuned in right now a little bit about specifically what your business is. They may, need to call you or like to email you for services. Share with them what your services that you offer.
Yeah, so at Caffeine Marketing, we make marketing profitable for small companies that are doing less than $25 million a year in annual revenue. And the nuts and bolts of actually how we do that, we first start with strategy. So I'll personally custom design a strategy for each of our clients. Generally, that's going to have something to do with building a sales funnel or a marketing funnel. And from there, we'll also use a framework called StoryBrand, which is like a 7-part messaging framework, so that it makes our clients the guide in their marketing and not the hero, because that's a mistake that most businesses make. So, the marketing could be Facebook ads, it could be websites. It really depends on the client and what their needs are.
When you said StoryBrand, I think that part, out of everything you said, I really connected to that, because a lot of times, for those that are listening, what is your brand and what is the story? How is the story selling your brand? And I think that's so pivotal for a business as we continue to grow. For others to, when they see our brand, do they even get it? Do they get what our mission is? Do they get what our company is all about? Kind of talk about the significance of a brand.
Yeah, so think of a brand as how people feel about you or what they think when they think of you. You can have your personal brand, so both your on-stage and off-stage personal brand, so what people know you, how they perceive you, and also what you look like online. That's your personal brand, and just think about how does it feel. And then as a business or a company or a brand, it's really how you make other people feel. And I think that first starts off with messaging. Obviously, look and feel and design are really important, but the mistake that most people make is not getting their messaging right. And if you offer a product or service, you need to talk about the problem that product or service solves so that whenever people encounter that problem, they're actually going to remember you. Your brand is going to come back to mind. They're going to go, oh, I know that they solved that problem or product or that problem that I'm having, and they go and buy your product or service.
I think that's so key. You just said the personal brand and the business brand. For those that are tuned in, how often do they commingle together? Just think about that. I think that's something to ponder, and I think he just dropped some nuggets just now, because we have to think about that. What does our personal brand look like, and then what does the business brand look like? You know, if let's say somebody's listening right now and they may want your service, what would be the first step? Would they send an email? Do you have an initial consultation? What's the process they would go through?
Yeah, so our brand promise really is to make marketing profitable. So we have an intake form on our website to request a call, and that's going to help me understand if we're actually going to be a good fit or not. Because generally about 1 out of 10 companies that apply to work with Caffeine aren't really a good fit. It's not that they're not good enough or whatever, but we really do want to live up to that brand promise of making marketing profitable, and that initial intake will help me understand if their products and services have enough margin in there to be successful for like an agency partnership.
Got it. And what is your website so everyone can know?
Caffeine.marketing. No .com, just caffeine.marketing.
Got it. So guys, listen, you want to go and check out the website. The first step is that intake, and that will get the ball rolling to see if it's a good connection with his company. Who would you say your ideal client is?
So we've worked with everyone in the B2B space and B2C, which just means business to business. So typically a business to business is offering some sort of service. And then business to consumer is a product or service. It doesn't really matter. So we've had a lot of experience in both spaces, but generally it's the small companies that we're the most helpful for, ones that I was mentioning earlier, like $25 million or less. And the reason is honestly because that connects with my personal mission of like helping small business owners and entrepreneurs. And if, let's say, a Chick-fil-A came across, well, I don't really know how we're going to help Chick-fil-A because there's so much more at that scale. But to go back to that first, intake. So you fill out that form, and then also we'll design a strategy session. Like in that session, we'll actually talk about like the nuts and bolts of what you should do, and then ultimately it's up to the person if they want to work with Caffeine or not. They're going to really get a free strategy session out of that anyway.
So guys, listen, we are going to be approaching the third quarter. It's right around the corner. If you're questioning, I'm not sure what my personal brand is, I'm not sure what my business brand is, I don't have a strategy. I mean, I think I got a strategy, but I'm not really sure. I highly encourage you to get connected with Evan. Shout out your website one more time and any social media handles.
Caffeine.marketing. And then if you just want to, Instagram is great. Connect with me. I pretty much respond to every message there. So just Evan B. Knox, the letter B, and it's my middle name. So Evan B. Knox on Instagram.
Yeah. Listen, guys, this is the season to, take an assessment of your business, really look at it in a tangible way, see what's working, see what's not working. Don't wait until the fourth quarter to try to get it together. Listen, June is that month. So Evan, let's talk a little bit about business strategy. Are there any tips and tools, just some fundamental things that you can share with the listening audience today as it relates to marketing?
Yeah, I feel like most people really want to know what's like the next hot thing. Like, should we be doing TikTok ads or Snapchat or something
TikTok,
like that?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, it might work out well, but let me frame it up. So I love all those. I love using them, and I'll give an example of like how this integrates. But I really think it's important for business owners, entrepreneurs, and business leaders to understand at least this part about marketing. Is that there are three parts to marketing. There's brand awareness, which is the first point in which somebody becomes aware of your brand. And then there's the consideration phase. The consideration phase is when somebody's aware that you exist. They're not sure if they want to work with you or not. And then conversion is that point in which you actually want them to buy something or submit a lead, like fill out a form on your website. It's the thing that you really want the consumer to do or the customer client to, essentially become. So brand awareness, consideration, and then conversion. Now, the nuts and bolts of like what you use in there, it really can change. And each business is a little bit unique. But great examples of the consideration phase, which is that middle, phase when they're aware of you, but they're not sure if they want to work with you. Two great things that they could do there is one, create some sort of PDF or free guide on your website, and then create an automated series of emails that educates people on what problem that you solve and how you're going to solve it for them, and how much better their lives are going to be on the other side of working with you. And another great one is going to be retargeting ads. I mean, you can spend $1 or $2 per day on Facebook retargeting ads, and you're going to get a great return on investment from that, because you're essentially going to be reinforcing your brand and bringing your brand back to people's minds whenever it comes time for them to make that purchasing decision.
Wow. I mean, I think those things are so key. And for those that are tuned in, he just dropped some jewels that we can take and digest and look at your business model, see, how it's measuring up. But I gotta ask, what is the thing with the TikTok? Because I'm seeing it's like blowing up all over. I personally have not tried TikTok, but it's just so appealing that I think I may have to. What is the thing about TikTok?
What's funny about TikTok is that it is so addicting. I don't have it on my phone because I remember the first time that I downloaded the app, a friend was like, "Hey, you gotta check out TikTok." And so I pulled up my phone and I downloaded the app, and I sat there for 15 minutes, and then I was like, "What just happened?" Because it's so immersive as a platform. So my wife's on it; she really likes it. She'll create videos. But they've designed a really great platform where people, they get to express themselves. The videos are obviously super engaging. Their algorithm is great because it'll suggest things that you're already interested in. TikTok ads are new in themselves. It's obviously how TikTok pays for itself, is by having advertisers pay to show people ads on the platform. I'm only in the experimental phase, so I don't know if I can recommend them yet, but it is quite a conversation. I like to really draw a return on investment. So when we, I mentioned earlier the brand awareness, consideration, conversion, I want to be able, if I'm going to invest something for my company that I own or a client, I want to be able to track that investment from the beginning to end. So if I put in, let's say $2,000 into Facebook ads, I want to know exactly how much money that made me. If I don't want to keep investing in it. So that's why I'm like, I have a hard time with like a billboard or like a newspaper ad, because it's so hard to prove the return on investment. Whereas with digital advertising, you can pretty much track everything from point A to point Z.
That makes sense. For those that are tuned in, he just dropped something. Are you able to track where your dollars are going? If you're putting money out for advertisement, can you track it? Have you been tracking it? Do you know where your money is going? And what type of return is it bringing? Those are very key fundamental points for every entrepreneur to look at. Let's kind of pivot the conversation just a tad. So like when we're talking about marketing and branding, you've been in this industry for some time. What type of industry trends have you seen, or has been impact in that community in which you operate?
Okay, so I mentioned it before, but the messaging is really, really key. More and more now that I've studied messaging, I'm what we would call a story brand certified guide. So I use that 7-part story framework in our clients' messaging. I'm starting to see that brands they understand that if they don't have the correct messaging, they're wasting money on marketing. Because if you spend all this money into marketing and you don't say the right thing, people tune you out because it's either complicated and hard to understand, or you've made yourself the hero of your own marketing. No one else is looking for a hero. They're the hero of their own story. They're looking for a guide. They're looking for someone to help them win the day. It's going to help them be successful. And if you just go on and talk about how awesome your company is, you've wasted money on your marketing.
That is so key. And we don't want to just throw money away, guys. We want to be very strategic about where the dollars and cents are going, so you can see the return. But not only that, you're going to see ultimately your business grow. And so when we think about entrepreneurship, as you know, Speak Life, we're a philanthropic organization. We started, for those that are just tuned in, we started back in 2013. And we always ask this question: when you think of the word Speak Life, what does that mean to you?
So when I hear it, I think of like edifying others, or adding value into their life. I've got a friend of mine. He literally created these stickers, and it's just a plus sign, and it says value. So it's like a plus value, and it's this idea that we're always adding value into life. We can either be a value adder or a value extractor. So I have to evaluate in my work setting, in my business partnerships, in my marriage, in my friendships. am I the kind of person that extracts value from other people, or do I add value? And I always think that another great way to speak life into somebody is just, if you see something in somebody, some potential, something like that, is to call that out. Because I know that there's been times in my life where people have decided to say, hey, I see this in you. And that's been obviously super encouraging for me.
Wow. And that's so key and important. And for guys that are tuning in, ladies and gents, I tell you, we just encourage you to speak life into your business. And in speaking life into your business means you have to be hands-on with your business. And just like what Evan was saying, if you see someone else, they have a gift or talent, and maybe they don't feel they do, but just by saying a positive word, a word of encouragement to uplift them, that could be the light that they need to get them going, to get their business jump-started. You know what I mean? Visualize, let's say if it's a car, right? Let's say, someone needed their battery jump-started. When someone comes and they bring those cables and it helps jump-start that car, see yourself as that cable to help jump-start someone else's business. You be that light in someone else's life and get them jump-started. And so we know, with Speak Life Tour, we're all about the power of our words, and then it couples back to what you were saying, Evan, the messaging. We have one single message, and that's Speak Life, and we speak with so many different entrepreneurs, and we're happy that you were able to take the time this evening to just share some golden nuggets about entrepreneurship. But how do you see entrepreneurs coming together to help within our communities? That's just a question we always ask any business person that comes on our episode.
Okay, so I think we're kind of in a unique time scenario right now, at least my perception. Maybe a boiling point, I think is the word somebody said, when it comes to like civil rights and stuff like that. This is obvious. I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he's black and I'm white. And I was like, help me understand, because I mean, it all comes down, at least for me, is just like understanding, because I grew up with my worldview, and the way that I grew up was different than everybody else. And everybody else has a different worldview. So I feel like as entrepreneurs and business owners, we have a great opportunity right now to, first off, grow awareness. There's a lot of brands that are bringing awareness to this issue. But like my friend said, he's like, hey, man, I just don't know if these people actually mean it. Like, is this just going to be a trend that, like, everybody posts some trendy image about, like, a if it's talking about Blackout Tuesday, it was like, do people just post that image and then that's it? Or is there actually going to be change? Which I feel like is such a valid concern. So I don't know. I mean, for me, it looks like research and understanding, hey, what can I do in hiring? What can I do when I'm working with people? What can I do to be anti-racist? Or, it's a learning experience for me for sure. So I think business owners and entrepreneurs have a unique opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things you said with that response. Research, see what you can do. And when we say you, and this is to all those that are listening, I think we have to look at what is anything we can contribute, and not sizing yourself up to what the next person is doing. Well, they did this, so do I have to do mine that way? I think, because, if we all have to take a personal assessment of, okay, what do I have to contribute? And I'm not just talking about finances. I'm talking about community engagement projects. Like, for example, something that I did years ago, we did a community engagement project in a community, and we didn't spend a lot of money. It was on a really super hot day. We had a bunch of cases of cold water, and we were just giving out cold water. And while we were giving out cold water, we was giving out inspirational, positive messages. So that was something simple. It wasn't like a super expensive project, but it was still pouring positive back into the community. So I think right now as entrepreneurs, and that day we had other entrepreneurs in the group that took off time from their business, and we were out in the community on a community corner, which we got permission to do it, and we were able to speak life and give out cold bottles of water, something so simple, but it still had a major impact. So I think when we think about entrepreneurship, everything that you said is on point. And I think another thing that you said that made sense, you had a conversation with your friend, right? And you wanted to get his take on it. He shared his take with you. And I think, ladies and gentlemen that are tuned in now or going to listen later, it starts first with a conversation, because sometimes we can sit into ourselves and have thoughts in our own head. But until we break down the walls of separation, have a conversation with someone else, get their viewpoint, right? And then have a dialogue, because through that dialogue, what can happen? Ideas can be created, projects can be created out of that conversation, and then we can see a different perspective. And I think right now for me, I've been a community organizer for a long time, since I was like 22. And I think, like, kind of like what your friend was saying, wanting it to go beyond just a post, turning it into a tangible community effort where you see results. And so I think when we talk about that, though, because I'm a strategist, I totally believe in strategizing from a community standpoint. And it's that in and of itself, it takes the first step, which is a conversation. Conversations lead to what? A strategy. And from the strategy, it leads to the implementation. So I think for any entrepreneurs that's listening right now, it could be someone saying, you know what, I'm a business owner, but I'm not sure what I can do. Here's a suggestion. Just like Evan did, he had a conversation with one of his friends. If you haven't had a conversation, and maybe it's someone that's of a different race than you, break down the walls of separation and just have a simple conversation. It doesn't have to be anything that put yourself in a situation that's not safe, but put yourself in a situation where this dialogue leads to something tangible. Because I think it can't just stop with the dialogue; it has to lead to something else. And so, those were just some of my thoughts. But Evan, when you think about entrepreneurship, and you talked about it, this is a unique time where we are. What are just some words of encouragement, or just maybe some positive affirmations you would like to share?
I always go back to what matters 100 years from now. I think that answer is probably different for each person. For me, it has a lot to do with like my faith. That's one of the big things that's really important to me. Another one is like leaving a financial legacy for my family, and loving people around me. Like I would love for people, whenever I die, for them to go, you know what, like Evan was the best father there could be. Evan was the best friend that there could be. Or whatever, you know what I mean? So like that sort of stuff keeps me grounded, because whenever I, like, let's say a proposal's out, I can always look at this and go, you know what, I can look at this, a proposal, and one might be tempted to go, oh my gosh, like if we just land this proposal, or if we like sell this many products, then I'll get this money. In reality, that's not a fulfilling life. If I can go, you know what, I can genuinely help these people, and I can see myself as somebody that can make a difference in their life, whether that, say if somebody's selling a book, or you've got a service like mine, you got a product. If you see your product as medicine to somebody's problem, and you genuinely believe that in your heart, I think that's way more satisfying, because that generally will get you off. That will get you up in the morning and will motivate you to make a difference in people's lives, because that's way much better than just making money for money's sake.
You said something. Medicine for someone's. You said medicine for someone's. Was it need, or it was? How did you say that?
Problem.
Medicine for someone's problem. I like the way that's worded, because a lot of times, when we as entrepreneurs, we have a product and or service, sometimes it's, sales driven, just sales driven. Let me make the sale for the week, or for that day, or what have you. But when you flip it around and you think about it as medicine for someone's problem, that puts them into a different perspective, and it changes the whole vibe. So that was a golden nugget. If you haven't noticed, I always say golden nugget. When I think of golden nuggets, it's like things that someone drops, and it's like, okay, you know how they say drop the mic? So basically, you dropped the mic a couple times tonight, Evan, sharing golden nuggets that we all can implement. And I'm so appreciative for you joining us. But before we conclude this episode, plug again the website and your social media handle.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me again. It's Evan Knox, just EVANKNOX.com, and then caffeine.marketing. No .com on that one, just caffeine.marketing.
Absolutely. And listen, guys, this has been a very interactive conversation tonight. If you're listening to it live, share it with your family members, share it with your friends, share it with another entrepreneur. Those of you that have just plugged in, or you may have been tuned in from the beginning, I stated that I was going to share some updates. So July 16th, 17th, and 18th, for those of you that may have not been plugged in, we have a 3-day virtual broadcast. We have lineup is going to be absolutely great. It's 35 speakers and performing artists here in the States, but also international. We have 2 speakers from London, a speaker from Nigeria, a speaker from Australia and New Zealand. We have a speaker that's in Washington, D.C., and she's representing Sierra Leone, her home country. Then we have a gentleman that's in New York. He's representing Guatemala. He has a nonprofit organization where they collect shoes and they send it back to his home country. We have several states here in the U.S. that's representing. Go to the website, speaklifetour.org. Again, that's speaklifetour.org. click on the tab that says Speak Life to the Nations. It's a drop-down box. Click on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, and you will see all of the speakers as well as the performing artists. Listen, guys, we're going to be live streaming this event on Facebook, on YouTube, on our website, and of course on the Zoom platform. So plug in. If you want to be a part of this event, send us an email, pr@speaklifetour.org. And we're about to wind down this segment on tonight. Evan, any final words you would like to share?
No, I mean, I feel like I just would like to reiterate, like, man, whatever is personally your why, whatever is the thing that motivates you, I think if you can have some sort of visual reminder. I saw this one time. It's like a calendar that you just check off the boxes. And it's like the weeks that you have left till like 100. It might be helpful to do something like that, some sort of visual reminder to figure out what matters 100 years from now for you.
Absolutely. It's about what matters. Go back to the center, go back to the core, go back to your why. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, once we do that, we must execute. Listen, we have enjoyed this segment. Again, check out his website, go to his social media handle, check out our website, speaklifetour.org, and we're going to be back next week with another phenomenal guest on SLT, The Talk. Everyone have a good night.